the Magic the Gathering CEDH podcast. I'm Cardboard Cryptid.
I'm the Gaming Ghost.
On today's episode, we'll be your hosts through your survival guide for your first CEDH tournament.
What to do, what to expect, kind of like what we have seen as the blueprint, kind of what we do automatically.
Yeah, we've gone over like similar survivor guides before, but never one specifically for your first tournament. And also, you know, the other ones were a year ago, so it'll be pretty updated. Before we get into it, let's go into the shuffle up. We got a bunch of new comments on the Strixhaven video. Thank you so much. First comment, great listen. Joined both Discords. Always excited to learn more and talk about Dina Tech. I do have a Dina CDH Discord that's pretty much just for Dina and all of her different modes. If you want to join that, you're more than welcome. Our podcast Discord is pretty active. We talk about a lot of stuff Magic related, some of it not Magic related. Recently, a lot of the people in there went to MagicCon. We did not. We skipped this time. But it was really cool to hear from you guys, see your artist proofs. There was a holding priority mat that got signed. That was really cool.
The pictures were awesome.
Yeah. I definitely had like FOMO just watching everybody see what they're doing. It's one of those things where I was just like, I kind of need to save some money this year first off. And then also we've gone to a couple. Maybe it wouldn't be like as fun or worth the money the third time. And then I saw everybody's and I was just like, oh man, that looks so fun.
I think we also this year kind of leaned more into the big tournaments because we've been to two really big ones this year.
I mean, we kind of went a little ham on New Orleans. At least I did.
Yeah.
And then, luckily, not luckily, but my washer dryer broke. So I would have had that bill on top of MagicCon. So I would have been a little bit more stressed out if I spent like, $2,000 on MagicCon and then needed a new washer dryer set out of the blue.
That's fair.
Kevin Sanders says, always enjoy you guys' input. I've said this before. I do not play CDH. I enjoy Higher Power for sure, but still you guys are just enjoyable to listen to. Thank you for the content. Always cool to hear. Definitely keep you guys in mind when we're doing set review podcasts. If we just went over literally just the CDH cards, might just be like, 4 cards.
I think it's some good content, even if you're going for just high power, because the cards we discuss are usually good. Some of them are just high powered. So it's right in that I guess gray area or sweet spot of, I'm getting into CEDH or I like higher powered Magic.
I mean, Strixhaven was made for Dina, and I only put 2 new cards in. And even one of those cards, I'm just like, I understand this is probably a card that would cause ties, but I like it, and it's been useful whenever I've played it. So it's the Vicious Rivalry, 4-cost, pay life, destroy all creatures and artifacts with X or less. So it's like Toxic Deluge, but, 1 more. There was a time where we were playing and I got Protein Hulk out. And I'd already eaten a lot of counters, and I was just like, oh, I just top decked a way to kill Protein Hulk Protean
Hulk.
Yeah, Protean Hulk. We also got a reply on that. I'll read that. But Protein Hulk, mine is just swole, so that's why I call it Protein Hulk, but it is actually Protean Hulk. I just kind of zone out. But I was just like, oh, I can just pay like 8 life and kill it, and then reset the field, and I'll probably win. But if somebody stops me, everybody's artifacts are gone.
Yeah, I don't like that Protean Hulk guy. It always loses me the game every time I see it.
Yeah. Command Crash Tournaments MTG says the long intros are great for consistent listeners. Personally, I enjoy it. You guys are great. Nice little updates, and it adds personality to the show. But for new listeners, when you are trying to grow your viewership, they don't know who you are, what you are talking about, or why. They just want to hear about the cards like it says in the title. So it's yin yang. The show is great, though. Yes. So on YouTube, I started to, for maybe going forward, I'm going to test it out, have a timestamp for the intro. So, if you're listening to this and you're just like, I want to get to the meat and potatoes, there are chapters, so you can just go straight to the meat and potatoes and skip over our, 15-minute intro. For podcasts, I believe almost all podcasts do chapters automatically. You guys can do that on podcasts already, but I'm going to open that up to YouTube and see if that helps out. The Racing Doctor says, dig the show and the cards you picked. Why'd you choose to leave out Emitress of Woe when she is a permanent demonic tutor? We probably could have gone over that one just for fun, but I think she's too much investment and slow for CDH play. We currently have a lot of good low-cost black tutors that should grab our combo pieces that we don't already run. Like, I think Grim Tutor's like 3, and we don't run that.
Yeah.
There's lots of tutor options out there. And really, if you tutor more than twice and you don't have a win, I don't think tutoring three or four times is really going to help that much.
No.
She's basically 6 mana, 4 to cast, 2 to cast, and it's still counterable. It's not an ability. I think she's great in higher power casual, and a great budget card if you don't have, Demonic Tutor. But CDH play, I'm not really a huge fan of the prepared mechanic in general. I think it's kind of like the adventure mechanic. Like, it's just going to be mostly ignored. Yeah.
I don't think any of them were just over the top.
Really, the only ones that were over the top, well, not even over the top, but like the ones that were pretty good was this in Displacer Kitten goes infinite. The ones that entered prepared. And like, okay, we broke Displacer Kitten.
It also, there's easier ways to break Displacer.
Yeah.
So
more mana efficient ways that doesn't involve you casting a sorcery spell over and over and over and feeding a Ristic or, maybe getting countered. The Witherbloom Dragon seems like a cool brew from the set. Yep. Still working on it. I really don't want another Golgari commander. I'm pretty happy with Dina, but yeah, I want to build it like just in Moxfield, maybe not actually take it to tournaments. What I'm trying to do right now is actually get a blue deck that I'm working on. Oh, here it is. I was like, I know that there is one. Moto Cynic says, I enjoy your podcast, but protein, not protein. Heart. Thank you. That was one of those things that like I'll just make nicknames for cards and I'll say it so many times that like I'm not saying it for fun anymore. I'm actually just saying it wrong.
I have a bad habit of Cabbage Man.
Oh yeah.
Instead of the Cabbage Merchant. Like,
yeah.
It just on tables it's like that. Or Roger. Like CEDH has those quick nicknames. Or not even really quick, just those nicknames.
Yeah. My specific P-Hulk is just Swole. Out of context, that sounds like it could be kind of inappropriate.
I heard something totally different.
Yeah. I said it. I'm going to leave it in. I'm not going to cut that out, but this is a family podcast. I said P-Hulk is Swole, like Protean Hulk.
That's not what I heard, kids.
And that's pretty much it for the shuffle up. Just reminder, we do have our link tree. By the time this comes out, we'll probably have a pretty cool collab out. It'll probably be on our link tree. We're going to promote in the Discord, but if you want to see us actually play some tabletop games and like see us actually like play with like high quality cameras, high quality edits, it'll be out there. Really, really excited. Clever Impersonators, we're always, hyping them up. They're really cool people. Please go over, subscribe, support them. We would love to send a bunch of people over there and be like, hey, these guys, we did a video with them and we got 10 comments that said that we sent you guys over there, that you're like, oh yeah, holding priority is great. Like, I'm here because of holding priority. So if you guys could help us like that, I'm pretty sure that would make their day. Grow them as creators, grow us as creators. Be really helpful.
They're really good. They're really good people too.
Yeah, we play against them in tournaments a lot. That's kind of how it started. We'd see them in one place and then we drive 6 hours the other way. We'd see them there too, and it's just like, hey, you guys are like going to a lot of the stuff that we do. Like, you want to hang out sometime, or like...
Yeah, it was about that awkward.
Yeah. And then just a reminder, if you're looking to buy some singles, especially if you went back and you're still thinking about some of those Strixhaven cards, please use our TCG player. Free for you. Helps us out a bunch, even if you just click it and kind of look at some cards, add to cart, even if you don't buy them. If you do buy them, way better for us, but help us out a bunch. If you guys want to support us directly, we do have Ko-Fi. If you're just like, or Ko-Fi, Kofi. It's on our link tree. If you're like, hey, these guys are cool, I want to buy them a collector's booster pack. I want to buy them a normal cat pack. I just want to send them $5 and tell them I love them. That works. And then just a reminder, we have pretty much all social media, Instagram, Twitter, of course, Discord. We've got our podcast everywhere that podcasts can be. We do upload YouTube videos. Maybe you're on YouTube right now. If you are, please make sure that you're subscribed, comment, and like the video. And if you're on podcast platforms, please set our podcast to auto download. It helps a lot. There's a lot of people, they'll think that they're subscribed because Holding Priority gets pushed to their YouTube page a lot. And then you'll go and you're not even subscribed. Or maybe you thought you were subscribed and then you're just not. I've seen the subscriber account go down a couple times, and clearly it's not people unsubscribing. It's, YouTube bugs. Because, I mean, why would you unsubscribe to such a great podcast?
Such lovable guys.
Before you unsubscribe, please don't. I'm sorry.
It's like, I'm done now.
It's like they're full of themselves. Unsubscribe. All right, let's talk about the first CDH tournament survival guide. So just to start out, we're going to kind of go over in depth. I whenever I grew up as a kid, I was told knowing is half the battle. So preparation is going to be probably half of this tournament survival guide. If you only start preparing for your tournament the moment you walk in the door, not going to be a great time. Maybe, you're kind of flipping a coin. So
I would say also don't let it like discourage you if you do that, or if that was your first experience. Like,
that's what we did. Yeah.
I mean, playing in a tournament and getting the experience is better than not playing in the tournament.
Yeah. I mean, our first one, we drove. I mean, we kind of went over this in another podcast, but, speed run, we drove 4 hours. I was playing Najila. I thought Shocklands were good enough, had no proxies, didn't even know where to go get proxies. And we'd just been kind of playing with our local group, and we were probably like tier 3, maybe tier 4 in that group. We weren't really playing like really quick commanders. I remember I was just blown away where I was like, everybody just, they win with what's in their mulligan. Like there's no, they barely draw. Like, turn 2 or 3, like they're already pushing to win, and I didn't have any counters to stop them. I didn't load my deck with counters. And how are they looking at 7 cards and being like, yeah, I can win off this? Like
it was a big difference between our local games and people that prepared for the tournament.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the big things I've noticed.
Yeah. Just kind of getting into step one of the survival guide. Know your deck. I think one of the things that I'm not going to say like pride myself on, but what I like to do is whenever I play my decks, I want the card art and the card text to be more reminder text. Like I want to be able to look at Esper Sentinel and then turn it face down and then be like Esper Sentinel, 1 white mana. It's a artifact creature. I don't know the types off the top of my head, but it's a 1/1 that whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, they pay X mana, which is based off the power of Esper Sentinel. And then I'll flip it over. And if I missed anything, then I'm like, okay, I clearly need to study this card a little bit more. You should be able to look at most cards in your deck and then just know what it does, because the thing that you can control at the table is your deck. You might not know all the cards in everybody else's deck, but you can control knowing the cards in your deck. Like, you should be able to look at a forest and then turn it upside down and be like, forest, basic land, taps for green. Oh yeah, I was right.
I would also say no. If you don't know your deck, you don't know what a good mulligan is.
Yeah.
Like you don't see the plan as clear as it could be in your 7 cards you draw. To be like, okay, I have a win. You probably know you have a turn 1 or turn 2, but do you have a turn 3 win? Do you have you don't know that information unless you know the cards you got.
Yeah, and then one thing that would always kind of scare me whenever I played Hashaton was whenever I ran Demont Consultation. You can't say like, oh yeah, guys, that card that does that thing, I think its name is like, Natural Rhythm, or like you can't really name you need to know the name of the card in your deck that you're going to go get. Natural Rhythm is not nature's rhythm. Like it'll cause an awkward conversation where like, if the judge is called, I don't really know what they would do there. Like if it's Natural Rhythm and there's no card called Natural Rhythm and you were actually looking for nature's rhythm, I think they would side that you have to name a card name.
I think they would give it to you.
But if you say like, I'm going to go get, Rhythm of the Wild, and you actually meant nature's rhythm, and
No.
Rhythm of the Wild is an actual card, they'll be like,
No,
yeah, you
absolutely
gotta
not.
flip your deck completely over.
Yeah, you I was gonna say if the name is close and it's not another card,
Yeah.
you'll be okay, I think. But I mean, you're taking that risk, obviously.
Well, there are like thousands of cards printed a year. Like the chances of you accidentally naming a real card is getting higher and higher.
Yeah, pretty high. Yeah. I mean, if you were to say, I would even argue if it was a card that's a different color you've named on accident, they may do it. But it's a big risk to a judge, and then the judge is always gonna, it's gonna weigh on them to make you do whatever you did.
Yeah.
That because initially that's where it's at.
And I mean, there's a lot of times where I'm doing a reverse Thassa and I'll name a card that's real that's not in my deck, like You Are Already Dead. And that card literally like is not in my colors, but I'm purposefully naming it to put my deck up. And you could say like, well, we didn't know that they weren't just going to flip their deck upside down. Like maybe they went looking and they decided that, oh yeah, I actually want this card. Like
That's true, because you do pass priority. If the priority passes and the opponent is thinking or is going off of what you say, then they may have countered it previously, and we've already passed priority.
Yeah.
You know what I
like
mean?
if you name generous gifts and you actually meant gifts ungiven, I'm going to be like, no, that's not the card he named. He named a card that it exists.
Could be.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, to me, that kind of was like the culmination of like why it's important to know all the cards in your deck. Every time I would cast a mock consultation Hashton, I'd be like, "Ooh, I better know what I'm looking for if I'm actually using this for its intended purpose." There would be some times where I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go get Elishnorn," and they'd be like, "Which one?" And I'm like, "Ooh, I know Mother of Machines stops ETB. Now that you're asking me on the off the top of my head, the one that makes everything go -2, -2, +2, +2." Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And like when I played Hashiton, like I knew it better, but like, if you just there are certain cards that you're just like, yeah, it's Elishnorn, and then it's like, yeah, but which one? There's like four, and then you're like, oh no, yeah, you're right. Like another reason why, there's so many cards printed. There's so many things that it could be. You can't just say Elishnorn. I mean, like you were saying with Cabbage Man, like if you said Cabbage Man, I would know that you're talking about the Cabbage Merchant. And I think everybody would kind of let that slide at the table just because it's so, common. But there might be one person that's just like, that's not the card you named. Yeah.
I mean, you take that risk if you don't say the correct thing.
Yeah.
I mean, most people are there to have fun too, but anything that would influence their possibility of interaction, because if I was to say my Cabbage Man card, I have a Chain of Vapor that has the Cabbage Man on it. And be like, oh, it's this one. It's like, well, no.
And there's a certain level of professionalism that I expect at a tournament because we are playing for money. Like when we're playing at home, if somebody like taps their mana, resolves a card, they're like, oh, actually, I kind of want to tap my mana in a different way now that it's resolved. I might be like, yeah, I don't really care. Like just in a tournament, I wouldn't let you do that. But in a tournament, I'm just like, you tapped what you tapped. It went around. You're stuck like that. Figure it out.
No.
And that's not really holding people to competitive rule set is what you should do. That's what the tournament organizers and the judges expect you to do. Do it in a nice way, but people are going to hold you to the expectation that you know how to play the game and that you know your deck. So that's one thing that you should be pretty confident in whenever you get to a tournament.
Also, if you're at a tournament, there's prizing.
Yeah.
So whereas to me personally, it puts a really fun aspect of the game, it does cause, that level of professionalism to be there. Like you should know. And on a lighter note of know your deck, I would also say you need to know some of the interactions.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the closer you are to knowing like judge calls on it, the better it is for you. Granted, I wouldn't
You're
read
not,
all of the rulings about it, but
you're probably not going to know that unless you have a judge friend or you have already been to a tournament. Like, try, like it does help because it helps to know when you can call a judge and get a ruling in your favor.
Or what I'm saying is, do you know if this is there a point of interaction in this combo? Is there a this in that?
Oh yeah.
You should know some of your weaknesses too of the deck in general.
Yeah. No, there have been times where just kind of going back to like playing for money, there have been times where I've been in a tournament and on Hashiton, someone tried to jam on my last game. That was the difference between me getting into top 4 and me having to compete in top 16 where there was no prizing. Someone tried to jam Thassa's Oracle combo and each person before me had passed. And if I'd passed, the combo was going to resolve. And I had a daze. And I dazed their part of their combo. And I was like, this daze was worth $500 today. It was the difference between that person getting $500 and me getting $500. So like this daze, it being in my hand, just got me $500 in top 4, which I mean is cool to think about. Like think about it in the way where it's like this day's got me $500, not this day's lost that person
Yeah.
$500.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's, I wouldn't kind of freak yourself out about that and like be super nervous, but you know, you are playing, there are stakes on the line. So like a certain level of professionalism should exist. I wouldn't say like, you know, just play in your pod and your pod's like, oh yeah, you know, you're really good at, you know, Yargle and Multani, you should enter, you know?
Yeah, there's very few takesy backsies in
Yeah.
tournaments.
Also just know the event, know if they allow proxies. Almost everybody after, that one incident where someone had 11 proxies and they had to play a top 4 with 3 people.
Yeah, the debacle.
Yeah. I think almost every event has kind of seen that and gone like, we need to open up full proxies. Like let's not even chance this. It's still important to know, like, you know, maybe you sign up and they only allowed 10 proxies and you've got 15 and you're worried about a deck check the entire time. You know, you feel like you kind of messed the tournament up because you didn't read how many proxies were there.
Yeah.
Know the location. You know, it seems silly to say like know where you're going, but like know where you're going as far as like how much parking is there, because you could show up 15 minutes before and then every parking spot's taken and you're like, what do I do? You know, do I have to just park on a side road and worry about my car getting towed the entire time? You know, like we've been in situations where we drove 4 hours, thought that, you know, we were going to a big venue because it seemed like a really big venue online. And there was like 10 parking spots for a 50-person tournament.
It's pretty crazy.
And another thing to that effect, we didn't bring food. So we had to leave and go get lunch in my car because there was nothing close. So when we went and got lunch, we were just like, I really hope this spot's available, you know, when I get back. Just knowing that is important. Like, as silly as it says, know the location. Like, that's not just, do you know where, can you copy it into Google Maps? Like, can you look at Google Maps Street View and see, you know, how many parking spots there are? If you're worried about it, can you call the shop and ask like, hey, you know, how many parking spots do you have? I know that you guys can't really recommend a secondary parking spot, but like,
where would you park?
Where would you park? Like, no legal, you know, requirement, you know, like, there's also been times where we've seen a tournament advertised on social media and we were like, oh, hey, this thing's 2 hours away. And it was on Top Deck. And then we plugged in the address and it was some dude's house. And we were like, what? Like, what is this? You know?
That doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
However,
these are things that have actually happened to us, though.
I wouldn't want people to be scared of like, oh man, what if this tournament's with this weird person's house? That was a one-time thing.
Yeah, but also
it was weird.
A couple months ago, we went to a tournament that's always held at a game store that we go to, and a lot of people signed up because it was like one of their big quarterly tournaments, and it was at a bar. And the entire time we were like, it seems like that bar is only outdoor seating, like, you know, what's going on? Where do we park? And then we pulled up and there was this like old metal, like,
it's like a shack
fence. And there was a shack on the other side, but like weeds had grown through the fence. And I remember taking a picture of it and sending it to a couple of people and being like, if I go missing today, this was the place that I was told to go. You know?
I think I messaged the is it Tio, tournament organizer?
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, is this it?
Yeah.
We got here a little early. And they were like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, you always want to be a little early for stuff like that.
That was going to be, I was waiting on a good interjection point, and I was going to say I would argue to get there. I think an hour is too long, but I
Yeah.
think 30 minutes is a solid amount of time. You know, you can entertain yourself for 30 minutes to be there early.
The other thing is, you know, when I travel and I'm in a car for a couple hours, when I get to where I'm going, I have to relieve myself. So, I'll also know if when you get there, if the place will even be open to where you can use the bathroom. Like, you don't want to get there what you think is 30 minutes early, and then the shop doesn't even open until the event starts, and then you're there with your legs crossed for 30 minutes, or you're like looking up like, where's the nearest fast food place so I can use the bathroom. And then you get there and it's in a bad area and they keep the restroom locked, and then you can't even go there. Then
Yeah.
the other thing is also just know the number of rounds. Like, it might seem like a 3-round tournament and a 5-round tournament are, so close in number that it doesn't really matter. But
no.
a 3-round tournament's a nice half day. A 5 rounds tournament, you could go into the evening or the night. Yeah.
Or a lot of big tournaments with a 5-round Swiss will go into the second day.
Yeah.
Not a normal, not if you're going to like your local store.
Yeah.
That's probably not a thing. But for something like a huge tournament, the Boyle, Excalibur, insert big top deck tournament, they will go into the next day.
Yeah, the last kind of local game store tournament I went to had such a good turnout that we didn't start till noon, which is kind of normal because the shop doesn't open until like 11:30 anyway. But we started at noon, and I ended up having to drop because I was 2.5 hours away from home and there was a crazy thunderstorm. I wasn't winning anyway, and I was like, I've played 4 rounds. There's no way if I win the 5th round, I'm going to win. Round 4 was 20 minutes. I'll save myself, an hour plus 80 minutes plus if there's 20 minutes in between. Like, I'm going to save myself 2 to 3 hours by leaving right now. And I dropped, and I knew somebody that got to top 4, and I was like, just out of curiosity, so I don't feel like I kind of like, left early. How late did that tournament go to? And they were like, we played from 12 to 11:30. Like, the other thing is, if you go to a tournament, you're kind of hoping to get to top 4, top 16. So it's 5 80-minute rounds with time in between, usually 20 minutes, because that's what they allow to go over. And then the top is untimed, and those untimed could go 3 hours, 4 hours. Hopefully not. Hopefully every person that's got there can close the game out in a reasonable time. But it happens.
It's pretty funny because as soon as you started, I was like, in my mind, thinking, as soon as we get to a spot where it makes sense, I'm going to say that you can calculate your Swiss somewhat.
Yeah.
I think you would say like 80, 90, 100 minutes, a Swiss round, give or take some. And then you can't really on your top 4 or top 16 because those are untimed.
I mean, even at the Boyle, there was somebody that, basically went, I have to catch my plane. I'm going to try to just poop out a win right here. And if I can't win, I'm going to have to get up and go, at the Boyle, top 16 at the Boyle, which, in my mind, terrible planning if you think you're going to leave the day of day 2 of a tournament. But I understand that like money is a thing sometimes. Like, an extra night at a hotel might be more than you're willing to pay. But yeah, I mean, it can be crazy. I know that some not local, but like some game stores that are holding like, under 50 people tournaments, they have just come out and said like top 16. We understand that it's going to take a little bit longer sometimes. We're going to cap it at 2.5 hours. That's basically double the 80-minute time that we usually give people. If you guys don't have a winner, top 16 by 2.5 hours. Whoever has the highest life or whoever is the highest seat that's not knocked out of the game, just they get a buy-in. Like, if you guys don't like that, figure out a way to close the game faster than 2.5 hours. Like, if seat 1 is alive by the time 2:30 is called, seat 1 gets to go. If you guys don't want seat 1 to go, try to kill him. If you can in the game, not in real life in the game, but
it's like, well, they told me to.
Yeah, they told me to.
No, I would also argue as well that, by no means would I say bug your tournament organizer, but usually they're nice enough to give you the in general information that you might have that's not been expressed through the description of the event.
Yeah. Like, be courteous. Like, if you have questions and you want to call, have all of your questions prepared. Don't just read the description and be like, oh, I need to call. Okay, cool. And then 3 hours later, oh, actually, I need to know this. Like, actually, like, let it sink in. Kind of go like, okay, here are my questions. Call them and be like, hey, do you have 5 minutes to answer these things? Yeah. Or go, going is better if you can.
I would argue to not call. I would argue just to leave an email or a message, because a lot of times that's going to be the way you communicate.
Oh yeah, they do have email on almost every top deck. Yeah, that's true.
But with that email, I mean, you can be like, hey, I have a couple of questions. Here's my bullet points. If this, then what about this? And then this here. And then try not to make it, 30. I would try to do like a handful. 5 is kind of pushing it.
I have a inappropriate, when we went to high school, we went, in the early 2000s, and my English teacher, it stuck with me what they said a like email should be, but they were basically like, and I know that this is inappropriate, so, sorry in advance, but they were like, an email should be like a woman's skirt, long enough to cover the subject, but short enough to keep my interest. And I was like, that stuck with me. Like, as inappropriate as that is, it stuck with me. I can
picture the teacher, unfortunately.
Yeah, we went to the same high school, so. But it's one of those things that I'm just like, okay, yeah, like, I should cover the subject, but I shouldn't
be considerate, at least.
Be so verbose that I'm taking somebody's time up, or my questions are getting lost, because if someone has to read a whole bunch, they're probably going to skip around, and then I'll maybe get like 2 of my 3 questions answered, and I have to email back. And then when I email back, then I'm a problem.
I think good to note is a lot of these events are fairly easy to run. Like, they're not just going to be so disorganized that it's unplayable. They usually are pretty simple to get to the next section of the tournament. It's smoothly flowing, I guess, is a way to put it. So, I mean, your 2 or 3 mission critical questions, and then the rest of it, what you can live with knowing at the time it happens, is probably the best play.
Yeah. And, also make sure that you're not asking questions that are answered.
Yeah, that was big on mine too. I was like, be sure you read the description, and then we are 2 managers, so we know what it's like to get questions where it's like, I actually answered that in the first sentence. Like, oh boy, what an email. It's like, well,
and then just kind of know your deck and know the event are kind of the biggest prepare in advance things, but we kind of wanted to go over very basic, like, miscellaneous prepare in advance. So, like, really, as we said, this is a professional level tournament. There's prizes on the line. I expect people to know gameplay basics, which is basically like the stack. Like, understand how your cards interact, and also understand that, like, if you play a Soul Ring and you have an Arcane Signet, you can't just drop a Soul Ring, tap it, and then put an Arcane Signet on the field. You have to drop it, let everybody say it's okay, tap it, put the arcane signet out, let everybody say it's okay before you tap the arcane signet. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to tournaments and people are used to like kind of playing with their pod and they're just like, all right, I'm on Corvold or, you know, this big giant commander, mana rock, mana rock, mana rock, mana rock, Corvold, or like Itali. And it's like, I know you don't have counters, but you do have to send all of that stuff around. So like, make sure each spell is okay before you start tapping. Otherwise, like you're passing priority. And it's not a very nice thing to do. Number one, because it messes up turn order. People know that you're going to drop an arcane signet. So maybe I wasn't going to counter the soul ring before, but now that I know that's chaining into an arcane signet, I am going to misstep it because you showed me that you're going to put out an arcane signet when you didn't pass everything around. Also, it's just awkward because if I have a counter spell and you do that, I have to stop you, and maybe somebody else would have had the counter spell and used it. But because I was paying attention, I have to be the one to send the counter spell out.
Yeah, and then now me being in seat 2, seat 3 is like, well, I'm not going to do anything about this. You go ahead. Like,
yeah.
Or vice versa. I'm sorry. I'm me in seat 3 and them in seat 2. They just, the priorities skip because I made it known.
Yeah. And I mean, I just have gotten to a habit where I'm not even running blue and I'll stop people. And I'm like, hey, you know, we didn't pass on that spell. You need to put it back on the stack. Cool. You know?
Yeah, I mean that's a good practice, even if you're on the end that's like, hey, you need to pass priority on that because it may not affect you at that moment, but it could later on.
Well, also too, like let's say maybe people are more passive than I am, and that person just drops all their mana rocks, and they get to resolve them because somebody's like, I don't really want to be that person that steps in and like is like, wait, roll it back. And then I play a soul ring on my turn, and then because I pass around priority, someone's like, well, I actually mental misstep yours because like I don't have to be that person.
I don't have to interject.
So it helps everybody, but yeah, like just understand like tournament basics. One thing that I've kind of picked up, and I haven't adopted very well, but a lot of the people that I've seen that do pretty well in tournaments, whenever they cast a spell, they say, I would like to cast a soul ring. And that kind of sets everybody's expectations up to be like, yeah, I pass. Instead of just like, soul ring?
Yeah. I would also say knowing timing, at least a general idea of timing, when you can interject counters or do a reaction is important because most spells or abilities, once they go on the stack, you can, most of them, once they go on the stack, you can respond to them. There's things that don't use the stack and immediately just happen.
Yeah.
With that, I would say know at least a basic form due to your deck, what's happening.
There are times where people, like, let's say you cast, Basalt Monolith, and then the next person's like, I'll blow it up. And they show like a way to destroy an artifact or something like that. You're like, it's on the stack, so you can't target it. And then they're like, oh, I passed that. Like you can accidentally reveal information, or like, let's say like somebody plays a land and then you're like, okay, command tower on the stack, I'm going to blow up your cannon. And then they're like, well, I played a land. You don't have priority yet. Or like knowing that you can interact with somebody before they draw is important too.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if I didn't know the rules, maybe I would wait for them to draw and then I would try to kill their commander, but they might have drawn a counter spell. So they're going to counter my commander. But because I know that there's untap, upkeep, draw, I know that in the upkeep, I do have priority. And before they draw that counter, I can blow up whatever I need to blow up. It'll give you an advantage if you understand how the stack and phases work and like when you can respond to things.
For sure. And again, you don't have to be judge level on that. Just a general entry level part of that.
Yeah. Like
helps enough.
one thing that we've learned is moving to combat, there is a priority while you're in combat to attackers. So like if someone's moving into combat and you remove their commander, but they have a combat trigger, that person can go, okay, moving into combat. Cool, you killed my commander. Well, now we're back in main phase because I never moved into combat. I'll recast it. Moving back into combat again, I get my trigger. Otherwise, like you could go, okay, main, cool, combat, not cool, moving into attackers, remove Winota. Cool, you have to skip through your attack phase because you're not getting Winota triggers now. Back to main 2, you can recast her. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you learn that? Usually just testing your deck online. If you just play your own group, one of the problems we had is we only had a group of like 4 people that were like CDH level, and like even some of the people that said that they were CDH, they were playing commanders that were like not CDH. So we would get kind of a skewed view of like, oh, this card is great. Like every time I play in my group, Stifle is great, or like Trick Bind is great. And like you can read that card and go like, yeah, that's a great card. And then you get to tournaments and you're like, yeah, I get why this is not a great card. Like it's great when it's great, but it sits in my hand 95% of the time. It's just a dead draw. It doesn't help me win. Like
I would also say that if you're playing the same people over and over again, what'll end up happening is, as a player, you like to win. So you'll make adjustments that fit your pod,
yeah,
but won't fit an
the
overall
general meta.
Yeah, an overall tournament meta. And with that, you'll have cards that are just seemingly dead cards. So just be mindful of that, and playing multiple decks with multiple different players via spell table, convoke, something like that. You're able to get more information and more experience in the deck.
Like I remember I would always cut Pact of Negation because I was like, this card sucks. Like whenever I'm playing at a kitchen table, because like I got to pay 5 unless I'm using it for my own turn. And then like I went to a tournament, I was like, oh, this card's great. Like it gets me draws. I think that would be another thing when you're doing your first CDH tournament is understand when to ask for a draw. You'd be surprised that like you could just see somebody is about to win and you're just like, okay, like this person literally has win on field. Seat 3 has win. If we pass to them, we're done. Seat 2, can you push a win? And if you push a win, I have a way to stop you that wouldn't stop seat 3. How about you do that, I stop you, and then seat 3 has to say like, I'll tie, because it's either you get 0 points and I let seat 2 win, or you tie and we all get a point.
I think that's a very important part of the game, and maybe we could do a podcast on that specifically. I don't know if it would be enough content. However, it's a skill that's a big part of tournament play and seemingly not as understood as it could be.
Yeah. And I also think just based on the stats lately, so many people are just like, yeah, I'll draw. And there's a lot of times where you should just not draw. Like if someone's like, hey, I can stop you, then it's like, you can stop me, but I can recover. And like looking at my hand, you wouldn't say this, but looking at your hand, you could be like, I could get there next turn. It'd be a little bit harder, but like, if you counter my creature, I do have a reanimate. On my turn, I'll just cast the reanimate and try to win again.
Like that spell is gone now. That's good.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I burnt that force of will. Like, and there are times where, of course, like someone will be like, well, I can stop you, but I don't know if I can stop them. And like, if you're looking at them and you're like, there's an under 50% chance that I think they can win, I'm willing to roll the dice. Like, yeah, I could just get a point here. That'd be safe. But, tournaments aren't really one-off ties. They're one-off wins. And I really think that I have a leading position here, even with you stopping me. Like, maybe I'll just roll the dice. And, if someone just happens to have Thassa combo that they've been sandbagging, like, good for them. They get the 5 points. Otherwise, I get the 5 points. Yeah. There's a lot to that. It's learn how to draw seems like a very simple thing to say, and that could be like a master class on itself. That would be like learn how to use a bandsaw, or like
That's what I was saying. Maybe we could have a separate video or podcast on that
yeah,
in and of itself. But I do think a basic and general idea of what does it mean to draw? What does it mean? Like what is the best time?
yeah.
Have a general idea of that because it'll help you in the long run.
Yeah, if that's something that you guys want to see, like, please leave us a comment. Say it in the Discord. I know you can leave comments on Spotify, which, I just learned a couple months ago. You can leave comments on YouTube. Like, if that's of interest, let us know. The other thing, just, these are kind of just to make your experience better. Bring a friend. It's a lot less socially awkward if you have a friend, because I've gone to tournaments by myself, and then there's quite a lot of preamble discussion. Like, you wait a while for the judge to show up. The judge will go into their, like, hey, this is how my tournament works speech that can be 30 minutes. I've noticed a lot of people talk through that, and whenever I'm sitting there by myself, I get a lot more annoyed when people talk through it. But it's just nice to have somebody to like check in with between rounds. And like, if you don't have a friend, you have to go by yourself. Well, if you don't have a friend you could bring to the tournament, you have to go by yourself. You'll probably meet somebody there that like likes the deck that you're playing, or, at the end of the day, it's usually 25 to 45 people that all really, really love Magic and has really invested their time and money into Magic. So everybody has a very similar outlook. It's pretty easy to make a friend between rounds.
I mean, Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
So.
But I would say, like, just if you're anxious or nervous, having a friend that, you sit with during that preamble and you can check in with between rounds is pretty fun. I mean, it's also fun with the competitive spirit, because like if I win round one, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go tell my friend I won round one, and I hear they won round one too. I'm like, they can't beat me. I gotta win the next one. Like
I think it definitely gives you that level of granted, if you have general liking for the person, to see where y'all get statistically
yeah.
in the tournament. Like, oh, I made 4th, you made 7th, you didn't lose that many games, but somehow you snuck into top 4, whatever.
It's also for me accountability. Like, if I'm just there by myself, I don't really feel too bad if I scrub out. But like, if everybody knows that I scrubbed out, I'm probably going to push a little bit harder to win. Yeah.
I would also argue the distance. So if your tournament is 10 minutes up the road, maybe a friend is, I mean, obviously you want a friend to go, but maybe it's not as needed. If you're going 2 hours away, I think a friend would be ideal and safer.
Yeah.
Not to say you don't want the friend 10 minutes away, but it's a little bit different if you plan the weekend type of thing.
It's also, it's nice to show that the tournament organizers that like you show up with somebody else. Like, you are one car in their parking lot instead, and you're also like helping support the tournament. Like we've shown up with like a group of 5 people, and the tournament organizers are just like, hey, I'm always happy to know that if we do a big tournament, we at least have 5 of y'all. When is you guys's local tournament, like we'll show up. Like just the support, along with just having company in the car, having company between rounds, the accountability. Like it's just good in general.
I would argue that if you don't have a friend to go with you, don't be too upset about it because
You'll find one.
yeah,
Yeah.
see the CEDH community is very welcoming, and that's how I've always seen it.
Yeah.
And now we go places, 4 to 6 hours away, and we know somebody.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, also, like, if there is a group of people that you want to talk to, whenever I approach them by myself, I feel like kind of a weirdo. But if I approach them with someone else, then I don't feel like a weirdo.
That's true.
The other thing is, you're going to be there a long time. Snacks, water, know where the bathrooms are, know how accessible the bathrooms are. If you're at a tournament with 100 people and there's one bathroom, if you've got to pee, probably you should hit the bathroom 15 minutes before you have to pee. Like if you have to use the bathroom and people are like, "Hey, do you want to play around for fun?" Don't think that you can just sneak into the bathroom between rounds and then come out in 5 minutes if it's a big tournament. Like if you have to go to the bathroom and there's 40 minutes between the tournament rounds and someone asks if you want to play for fun, the answer might be no.
Yeah.
And then hygiene, like I can't tell you how many times I have gone to a tournament and I was like, I showered, I'm fresh, I've got cologne on, and then all of a sudden I'd be like, I didn't put deodorant on. Like I was tired, I was thinking about the tournament. I hit it with cologne and I thought that was good enough. I don't have deodorant. But I keep spray deodorant, the travel size, in my bag. So I can go and hit the bathroom, spray what I need, and then I'm good. Or I've gone to a tournament and I was real fresh at 10 a.m., but around 4 p.m., I'm not fresh anymore. Like I needed to re-up, and my, my hygiene products say that they last 24 to 48 hours. They did not.
They did not expect a CEDH tournament with a
You'd be surprised how hot it gets whenever there's a bunch of big boys in a room. Like
very true. I would also argue that the community is small. Don't be that person.
yeah.
You're going to be known for that. Like, take care of yourself.
The other thing too is like when I get hungry or dehydrated, my breath, I'm not going to say it stinks, but like my breath might not be pleasant to be within, 6 inches of me, So making sure that like I'm drinking water, I have food. I also get hangry. Like things
I would
that
say that,
wouldn't bother me at 10 a.m. will bother me at 4 p.m. if I don't have food. So, and it's really easy to kind of I'm not going to say lose your cool, but like things can get to you when there's money on the line and you're hungry. So like make sure for your sake and everyone else's you have access to snacks.
Yeah, you don't want to be that Snickers commercial or whatever.
Yeah.
I would say being the type of person that gets like mashed potato brains where I'm just like staring off into a wall after a really tough game.
Yeah.
Kind of to rejuvenate myself, I'll try to have some kind of be it a Cliff Bar or be it some kind of snack of some sort. And I always carry water. Like it's not necessarily for me to like chug down. It's more for me to kind of sip on through the day.
Yeah.
But knowing and having all of that together, it gives you I forget which person I was listening to, and they were like, you can sum CEDH by how many things you've got going right for you.
Yeah.
So it's like, did you is your deck completely together? Yes. Okay, well that's a point in your favor.
Yeah.
do you have some snacks and water and stuff? That is a point in your favor. Like, it is a marathon at the end of the day. It's not
Yeah.
a race usually. So,
Top 16 and top 4, it can be lost by just one person being sharper than everybody else. Like I've seen people make mistakes in top 4 and I'm just like, I would never make that mistake. And I forget that like they've been playing for the last 6 to 8 hours probably. So like with all of that being said, it sounds like you will need to bring a lot of stuff. So how do you bring your deck box, your dice, your tokens, your game mat, your water, your snacks, your hygiene products, maybe caffeine pills in case you start to crash, mints or gum in case you don't feel, super, super fresh. Bring a game bag. Pretty much everybody will go to a shop and have a game bag. Every once in a while, I'll see somebody that just has their deck box and they're just kind of slinging their play mat around and like, they have it all like bundled up like against their chest with both of their arms and they're rushing to the next round. And I'm just like, ooh,
it's miserable.
Could not do that. That's miserable. Keeping track of my water bottle in itself is the most miserable part of CEDH, but like I need it. Like I can't not have a water bottle.
So I take the more minimalistic version of that. I buy a water bottle, and my backpack has like the little water bottle holder on the side,
Yeah.
and that's kind of where I'm at. Just make sure it's tightened, and then if I need to refill it, I find a water fountain or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, don't bring a open cup that can spill and ruin thousands of dollars of cards.
Yeah, don't be that person.
Yeah, I have a big tubby water bottle for all day weekend excursions, and then I have I will need to refill this bottle at some point today, but it's not, I'm not lugging around a 2-gallon, 1-gallon bottle. So yeah, I mean, just, have a day bag. If you travel, that day bag can be big enough to fit all of your stuff in and you just leave half of it at the hotel if you're at a hotel. I really I have a sling bag that I have just a little tube strapped under it for my my play mat. So I just roll the play mat up, shove it in there. I've got all of my stuff that I need to get in one pocket and then all of my hygiene products in the front pocket. So, I'm not looting around and trying to find my life counter and, push in lip balm or, cologne, to the side. Another thing, just, hygiene. This is going to be a little bit extra, but I've kind of gotten into cologne as like a hobby within the last year. I have a specific cologne that I use when I go to CDH events that because I play Dina, it's matcha tea based. And I don't know what it is, but just the fact that I'm like, I got Dina, I got my matching cologne, and it smells really good to me because it's something that I really only wear whenever I'm at a tournament. So it kind of puts me in that like, eye of the tiger, thing.
I believe there was a study or something, and don't quote me on it, but they were saying that if you're studying, it's good to eat gum or like chew gum, and when you go to take the test, to chew the same gum,
Yeah.
so you're in that mindset to be in that. I feel like that's very similar, a similar scenario to put you in the eye of the tiger
like
mode.
scent and memory are directly linked. Like you can smell something and then like that nostalgia element hit. Like I'll say, and we've talked about this before, is we grew up whenever smoking and non-smoking was part of going to the restaurant, where you'd go into the restaurant and they'd be like, do you want to go to the smoking section or non-smoking section? And usually the entrance was in the smoking section. So like you'd walk in and that baked smoke and tobacco smell was like in the carpet that doesn't exist anymore. But we've gone to like places in like Vegas that even in 2026 they have a smoking section, and the moment we walk in we're just like, 90s. Yeah. Or like certain things will smell like, how lipstick used to smell back in the day, or like how like foundation used to smell, or like the cheap cologne people would wear in like high school. And I'll just be like, oh yeah, I remember like being in high school and like,
I think, that's one of those leg ups that seemingly not part of the game, but is part of the right mindset to be in the game.
yeah,
I think that that's a very important aspect of it too. And in anything, honestly, if you're trying to get something done or perform in a way, I think that putting yourself in that mindset is the best way to do it.
yeah.
And I think it's cool that because I have my tournament shirt that makes
Oh
me.
yeah, yeah,
And I don't know if it's lucky or not, but that's the
yeah,
one I like to wear.
yeah. I mean, it's also like, people know to look for what's yours is your Gengar shirt.
Yeah, they'll be
Yeah.
like, "You're not wearing Gengar?" It's like,
Yeah. So like people will know to like look for like, oh hey, I want to find this person at a tournament. I know that they always wear their Gengar shirt, which I mean, we're probably more stuck in ritual than like most people are. But I got for Christmas, someone bought me a present. I wasn't like necessarily expecting any Christmas presents, and they were like, "I bought you a shirt," and I was like, "I didn't buy you anything. I got to make you some tokens or something like that." But it was whenever I was playing Hash Time, they bought me the Hash Slinging Slasher shirt from SpongeBob, and just I've done well in that shirt, and I know in the past whenever I wore that shirt, I did well. So even though I'm not playing Hashton, it's still kind of my like go-to shirt, for tournaments.
and again, I don't know if that's really matters. It makes me feel better.
Yeah, if it makes you feel better, it matters. Yeah,
I mean, in the top in the top 16, I ended up not wearing my Gengar shirt because it was the second day.
yeah, yeah,
And I did okay.
yeah.
Like I would say just putting yourself in the right mindset with what you're doing is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Just kind of speaking to mindset. I think mindset is kind of the last 3 points here. So I would just say when you go, expect to lose. Your first tournament, it's always good to like be positive and be like, I'm going to go in and, I'm just going to stumble my way to the top and I'll walk away with a prize. If you get to the top in your first tournament, you're probably just really lucky. I'm going to be honest. Like,
And amazing, great for
yeah,
you.
yeah.
I'm not shooting you down on it, but
If you expect to win and you lose all day, you'll be disappointed. I think it's most likely that you'll lose all day. Like if you get a win, great. If you get 2 wins, you actually might be in top 16 anyway. So
I think it's important to know that Commander on average is a 25% win
yeah.
rate. Granted, some of the top players have some crazy statistics.
And 25% win rate before ties.
Yeah, like so. That being said, if you're winning 1 out of 4, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
That's
It's better.
average.
Yeah, better than average with ties consideration. Yeah.
But also, if because I had this mindset too of when we were playing recently, I was like, how do these guys and how do they get to this point? And you were like, well, they play double the games we've had.
Yeah.
I was like, Eureka!
Yeah.
I should play more.
Yeah. I mean, there's been days like, so with, and this is, humble brag, but 3 out of the 4 last tournaments we've done, I've gone undefeated in Swiss. So ties and wins only. And recently I went to a tournament, and this was right after New Orleans. I'd kind of tried to give up energy drinks for a week to kind of reset my body because I had way too many when we were in New Orleans. I lost every single one. Like we did 4 rounds and I lost every single round. And I tied twice and lost twice. And I was kind of like, not really beating myself up, but I was just like, man, this was not my weekend. But honestly, if I would have stayed and played the 5th round, that might have been my time to win, because like I do always think it's a 25% chance, but with ties, it's probably like, even in seat one, 21%. So like if you're a math head, 21% is 1 in 5 games. So like even if you lose 4 games in a row, you're still on average if you win the fifth game. So just kind of keep that in your head, that like, you know, and me being like, well, I went undefeated, ties and wins only in the last 3 tournaments. What's up? It's like, well, what's up is math. Like it's extremely unlikely that someone would win or tie that many times. The fact that you didn't do this extreme expectation you built of yourself doesn't mean that you're bad. You actually did the average today.
It's an amazing, like, putting 4 people in a tournament with only one winner kind of adds the dynamic I kind of like about Commander itself. There's clearly things you can do to up those chances, but going in with a basic knowledge of, in general, it's 25% or 21%. I'm not super super big on math itself. And then if you're on the math itself.
Yeah.
But if you're also taking into the consideration that this is your first tournament, or maybe it's your first 10,
Yeah.
the experience is lower. You're playing with people that may have had 100+ tournaments.
Yeah.
And again, they don't have a sticker on their forehead. So I remember playing with some people and I'm like, I don't know how they got it. Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, well, I was playing this person that was in the top, 20 of top deck.
Yeah. And I mean, you might also play against, a group of people that they all play together all the time. This is their local shop. You are the odd man out at a table where 3 people play all the time, and they all kind of know each other's decks and they don't know yours. So they're going to be a little bit more like, I don't really know what they're doing. I have a counter. I know that this guy, while he's doing something scary, I just know that he's making value right now. He's not going to win. He's not playing like he's going to win. So I'm going to counter this person's spell. Maybe they're not going to win. I just don't know what their deck does. Like you are kind of at a disadvantage to begin with going into a tournament for your first time, just because of lack of experience. I would just say, like, when you look at the tournament fee, look at it and go, am I okay to spend $35 to $50 on a crash course in how to play CDH, hands on?
And play all day.
And it's going to be a donation like 95% of the time.
It's fun. Like, even if you scrub out most of the day, like playing with everybody, it isn't, the experience is invaluable in that aspect.
Meeting new people, maybe getting invited to like a local Discord where you can keep up with everybody and kind of engage with people. Just seeing the artist prints, like the sign cards people get, the artist, altars that they get with their commanders, like, just seeing a commander that you're like, I've never seen this before. And like, maybe they don't lose, like maybe they don't win, but you're still just like, that did something really cool. Like, it's like, while you did not win, that was really cool. I kind of want to go home and theorycraft that. Like, it's a donation, but I will never say that like I'm not getting my money's worth, even if I walk out with no prizing. Like I'm having a great time. It's a really cheap way to spend, a day, a weekend. Sometimes even with like the hotel fees in mind, like I'm just like, I spent, $200 for 2 nights at a hotel. I split it with somebody. I'm down $100, 60 for the tournament, whatever gas, like $200. I got to get out of town and not be in my house for a weekend. Like pretty good.
Play all day.
Yeah. Play all day. maybe play twice all day, you know?
I mean, there's tournaments that we go to, and the trip is usually more fun to me than the tournament.
Yeah.
And granted, we go to play, and I like to do that as well. But also, like, the hotel we normally go to, the breakfast we get, like, it's pretty fun. Like,
I mean, we got like 6 comments about how good Toops was on our, like, pretty much like our Boyle tournament was just everybody being like, Toops looks really good. Like,
yeah, shout out to those guys.
yeah.
And thank you for letting us know about it, and you know who you are. But I mean, the expectation of it is that you're newer at it.
Mm-hmm.
If you win them all, like let's say you win every game, that's awesome for you, but that's generally not what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
And I would say too, kind of on that note, like, I wouldn't say like sit down and be like, this is my first tournament, like, be easy on me. If that's the route that you take, that's the route you take. But I would just say, like, at some point you might want to set the expectation with the table. Like, there are times where, you know, someone makes what I think is a very bad decision, and I just assume that they are just playing really bad. But then someone will be like, hey, you know, this is my first tournament. Like, I'm not too sure what this card does. Like, you know, why are they casting Tainted Pact? Like, what does that do? You know, like, I feel like if you set the expectation with the table, that you might be on a little bit less footing. People will try to like politic with you a little bit more, and really at the end of the day, like, when I see somebody that's new to the game, I want to try to kind of coach them in the moment on what they should do. So, like, if let's say somebody casts an Underworld Breach, or someone even better, someone casts an Enduring Vitality, I will look at the table and go like, we could counter this with Swan Song. It's an enchantment. You know, does anybody have a Swan Song? And then sometimes people will be like, oh yeah, I'll Swan Song it. You know, just little things like that, especially if I know somebody is like new at the table, especially if they're playing blue. Someone will play something and I'll just look at them and be like, they're going to win. You know, like, Underworld Breach, you don't really play it if you're not going to win. So, like, I don't have anything for this. Do you have a counter spell? Like, you might want to use it. You know?
yeah.
It helps me help other people. And, like, you know, at the end of the day, keep in mind that everybody's there to win. So, like, I'm not just going to help you out of the goodness of my heart. Like, if someone's trying to win, I'm going to help you counter their win. So maybe I can try to win, you know, at some point. You know, like, I would just rather not lose. But in that moment, our wants align. You also don't want to lose. I don't want to lose. You know?
Yeah. Is it more beneficial to you? That's something you kind of learn with more games.
Yeah. And I mean, will people take advantage of the fact that, you know, you're on blue and you've never played a tournament? Yeah. You know, just know that everybody has their best interest at heart. People shouldn't be shady about it. They should, you know, try to help you out. But, you know, I'm never going to tell somebody how to play their deck so that they can beat me and get 5 points over me, you know. But I still expect them to be able to sit at the table and like participate. So I will help them. I'm also, if somebody's taking like quite a while, I will be like, hey, you know, you need to make some game actions. Like, it's been 2 minutes, you haven't made any game actions. But if it's somebody that's new and they're reading other people's cards, I might be like, instead of setting that reminder of like make a game action at 2 minutes, I'll probably bring it back to like 5 minutes. You know, like, I'm still gonna prompt them, but I'm gonna give them a little bit more leeway.
Yeah, and you should be able in the game to know what every card does. If you're not able to see it, you can call a judge, and the judge can tell you what it does.
Yeah.
because some people use like different languages on their cards.
Yeah.
Some people have them signed and you just can't read it. They
Yeah.
have alternate arts. Like
And I'm the person that I keep the originals in my token, but
I do
I
as
don't
well.
know anybody else outside of our group that does that. Like I've seen a Delaney at a table, and Delaney is one of those things where it's like Delaney does like three things, you know, and I'm just like, why can't I block Delaney? Like what? Like why can't I would like to bring out my phone, and sometimes like I'll call over the judge and I'll be like, hey, I want to see what Delaney does. Like, do you mind if I look it up on Scryfall while you're here? And a lot of the times they're like, yeah, because I don't necessarily, I'm not the type of person that if you tell me what Delaney does, I'll remember it. Like, I need to see it, like, on my phone. So there are some times where I'm just like, hey, judge. And I'm like, can I look up Delaney on Scryfall on my phone while you stand here? And they're like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, okay, cool. All right, I'm going to put my phone up now that I've done that and gotten the permission. Continue. Yeah.
It's good to note too that in a tournament you're not really able to look up your deck list or
Yeah.
it,
Have your phone at all, really. Like, you know.
if you could have information, because for heaven forbid that you have the other opponent's deck looked up. I'm not going to say that I've ever been did this intentionally, but I have played people where I had their list up and I was thinking of building that deck.
Yeah.
And which is realistically what happened is I copied the deck list and made my adjustments. And I was like, oh, hey, I actually had your deck list. And I was thinking of building this deck after the game. So you don't really know who you're playing, and unless you know the person.
The other thing is, it's very common for people to watch a game whenever they're done playing. Like maybe there's a really epic game that they want to watch. Like the tables are usually numbered as like if you're at table 1, you're probably doing the best. Like you're in the top like 16. So people will go like watch top table to see like the best people perform. And it's not uncommon that, if Ghost is not done with his game, I'll go behind Ghost, see his hand, and then I'm like, oh, he's going to push Kin Basalt on his next turn. I kind of want to see what everybody has for him. And I'll walk around the table and I'll kind of glance at everybody else's hand. And I'm like, oh man, he's going to try to drop it. And there's like, everybody has a counter for it, And like that, to me, that's fun because like when it gets to your turn, it's fun for me to know that there's three counters at the table and you're going to have to figure out what you do. But if I was a bad person, I could take the fact that tournaments allow spectators and I could message Ghost on Discord and be like, don't play Basalt. There's 3 counters at the table. Or just, like message them like, let's say like we're expert cheaters and I'm like, oh, hey, I want to go get fried chicken for lunch. And that's our code word for like, you're going to get countered, like that stuff can happen. And in big events, unfortunately, there are cheaters in other formats. Like you could look up all the crazy stuff people would do in Magic that they've been caught at like the professional level. And like, it's kind of crazy that there will be live streams where, there's 100 people watching and then someone's brave enough to shuffle somebody's deck and literally put the 7 cards on top that they want them to draw and be like, oh, no lands. Like, that's crazy. And that's, when 100 people are watching. Imagine just a local game tournament. Yeah.
I will argue, or not argue, but let it be known that one of my worst pods that I can possibly have at a tournament is to play Cryptid.
Yeah. It happens every tournament. We didn't play at all at our last tournament, and I was so grateful. Like
I was as well. But in no way, shape, or form do I really get a lot of help from Cryptid. He's usually pooing on my parade, which is always
You play the second best deck in the format. Everyone should poo on your parade. Like
I
the fact
disagree.
that people don't go, oh, okay, this is the top 4 decks in the format. I'm not going to let them get away with anything because clearly these decks are better than other people. Like whenever Kinnan will be like, all right, well, I'll put down Kinnan and I'll drop a Soul Ring and I'll drop a Lotus Petal. I'm gonna crack them and I'm just gonna play a Trophy Mage and you know I'm just gonna go get Basalt and everybody's like, yeah, cool. And then it's just like that's when they're like, well, yeah, it has to get around to their turn. It's like if they're going for Basalt that early, they probably have like a lot of counters. Like, how can we just mess up their board before they get to a turn? And then they're like, oh, I don't really want to remove Kinnan. Like, what's the point of that? And it's like they're about to win. Yeah,
No, one of my biggest critics, honestly. But I didn't. I said all that to say this. Like, whereas that could be a possibility of somebody else, that's not what happens with us. Like, he very much laughs about it in their head for sure. Like, to where my downfall is amusing.
On that note, expect there to be some conflict whenever you're at a table. I will say that there are people, and this kind of like surprised me, that like them being like sore losers when their stuff gets countered is like part of
The tactic.
the tactic. That was one thing that really surprised me, where it's like, oh, you're gonna Mel misstep my like Esper Sentinel, like, that's dumb, that's stupid, and like they'll make you feel bad for doing it, and like that's their tactic. I don't agree with that, but it's there, like they'll make you feel so bad for countering their small spells that whenever they land like a Rhystic Study, you feel like if you counter it, they're gonna get mad and it'll be a scene, or something like that. And of course, if you don't feel comfortable, like
Get the judge.
get the judge, get the tournament organizer, like don't just immediately tattletale. You should try to resolve the conflict. Like, we're all adults that like to play card games, but if someone's being unreasonable and making you feel really uncomfortable, like a conversation needs to be had, hopefully with them. Like, hopefully they haven't gotten to the level that you don't feel uncomfortable talking to them. But after that, probably talk to the tournament organizer and just be like, hey, this guy made me feel really uncomfortable. I countered his spell. That's something that like people should expect, and they were really sore about it. They continued to be like really aggressive. I didn't really feel super safe, like there, it feels like there's a possibility that when I leave, they might try to find me in the parking lot, or like, this person just seems like they shouldn't be there. I've never had that happen. I've had things get kind of hot. Like, I had somebody want to resolve a bunch of Thrasios counters, and they expected it to get back to their turn, and they were really hot that I like wasn't playing while they were resolving their Thrasios counters. I mean, I've had differences of opinion where someone will do something and like they'll play a Smothering Tithe and I counter it, and they're like, that's literally how I'm going to get back into the game. Like, if you counter this, you're taking me out of the game. And I'm like, I have to. And then they're just like, okay, like, that sucks, but in my hand I have a Wheel of Fortune, and like I know I'm casting it next turn. So it's like there are some times where like I will have to tell people, it's like, I understand from your side you don't think that this is a good play, but you don't see my hand or know my hand. I am looking at my hand and I am saying I have to counter this spell. I mean, there's just people that, we had a last tournament, we had a Sisei player that we kept stopping them, and it would get to their turn, and like 4 turns in a row, the other 3 people were trying to play for a tie. So we would like Chain of Vapor Sisei, or, stop them for a turn. And they were really salty, where they were like, you guys are just all piling up on me like this is not a fun way to play, and it's like, well, we literally can't win. All of us know we can't win. You're the only one that can win, so we want to tie. So all of our effort is going to go into stopping you. And then they're like, well, I feel targeted. That's not fair. And it's like, I know you feel targeted because you are being targeted. That's correct. Is it fair? Yes. Like it's a tournament game. I don't want to lose. These other two people don't want to lose. You're the only person that can win. Like, and, that I get it. Like I've had people afterwards like apologize and be like, hey, now that I've gotten away from the game, like, what I did wasn't cool. Like, I'm sorry about that. And like, there are some times where I'm like, you did what you did. Like, it's a game, like, I appreciate the apology, but like, do I accept it? No, sorry, like do better next time. And then there are some times where I'm like, yeah, I get it. I don't necessarily agree with, the emotion that was there, but like, yeah, I get it. I couldn't say that I wouldn't be a little irritated at that point. Like, would I take it out on everybody? No, but yeah, I mean, I would just say like there is an uncomfortable situation at every tournament I go to where like 95% of the people are a lot of fun, and then there's people that like do some wild things, or like I catch them cheating. Like, let's say, and cheating is kind of a harsh word. Like I catch them like casting a 7 mana spell when they only had 6 mana. So I'll have to be like, hey, I'm not really seeing how you got to 7 mana with your board. Can you go back over how you tapped? And like, they'd make a point to tap real quick and be like, tap Guy's Cradle, tap this, untap Guy's Cradle. And it's like, whoa. Like, tapping Guy's Cradle for how much? Tapping this for this. And you'll have to like stop them and be like, hey, I need you to explain how you got to 7 mana, because I don't see it. And sometimes, and I would say most of the time, 70% of the time, they actually do have the 7 mana. I just didn't understand it. That's why I try to approach it as a like, can you explain this to me? And then there's sometimes where once they have to explain it to somebody, they're like, oh, I thought this tapped for 2. Kennon's not out. My bad. I play Kennon. I'm just used to my arcane signet tapping for 2. And like, that's understandable, but like that is still conflict. Like, it's conflicting for me to be like, hey, I don't think that you're telling the truth with how much mana you have, and like you need to do that. Like, there needs to be checks, because like even people that are genuinely not trying to cheat can accidentally do it,
Well, misplays happen.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that. I would love to say that they're unintentional.
Yeah.
All the time, but that's not realistic. Usually, if something is misplayed in a beneficial way to the player,
which it almost always is.
Yeah. So you can always call a judge, and I think that's what you mean by conflict. That's.
Yeah, I mean, it feels weird to try to call somebody out where you're like, technically, I'm calling them out for cheating. I don't really think they are, but like,
Or can I understand this? I think can I understand this better is a good spot to come at some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're playing a game.
Yeah.
Realizing that there's a prize on the line is something to always have noted in your head. But I don't come across that many people that are playing in a slimy way.
Yeah.
I do come across people that maybe have misunderstood something and try to do something in a way that wasn't a legal action.
Yeah.
Which, you don't have to be that guy or girl or whoever to be, you're cheating. You just be like, hey, can I get a judge real quick? I have a question.
Yeah.
And you can step away from the table usually with the judge if you don't want it to be, a big scene.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of the times people do that just because they have a question about a card in their hand. So it's not weird, that you do that. I mean, I would also just say, like, Magic players in general, we're probably not the best at social interactions, if I'm being honest. So, when two people that aren't the best at social interactions, which conflict is probably one of the hardest social interactions to understand, like, there can be some uncomfortable conversations that happen, or like, maybe somebody gets a little bit too passionate over the game. That doesn't really happen. I've never seen anybody explode, but I would say, like, in a competitive environment, if you've never been in a competitive environment, sometimes passions do get a little high and they just stay there, but it's still one of those things that you should just be like, oh, okay, like, I need some type of conflict management. Like, I can't come in here and just be like, oh, that was a stupid play.
Yeah, you never want to attack the other person.
Yeah. It's like, I don't agree with that. I think that was kind of a dumb play. Like, I'll say that to my friends sometimes,
all the time.
like they also are just like, well, you eat poop, and I'm like, well, you smell like poop, like,
Yeah.
and then we're cool, like,
our group chats are very educational.
yeah. Now I routinely will be like, yeah, you think that? What's your win rate, by the way? Can you link your top deck? Oh, 10% win rate? Wow. I think maybe I'm more right. Like, maybe you should listen to me.
And these are close friends. Let's put that there first.
These are also close friends that have maybe entered one or two tournaments, and I'm just completely messing with them. Like, yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it's there is a way to talk to your friends, and there's a way to be professional. Luckily, because I feel like I'm always representing the podcast because I have the podcast mat, there are some times where I'm just like, I'm going to say it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I have the podcast mat. Maybe I keep this to myself. Like,
I would also say, if you're on the opposite end of this, let's say you're getting heated about a play or something, and it's genuine, you just are upset about the play. Part of the game is the other player playing their cards how they want.
mm-hmm.
And, is it the best play? I don't know. Is it the play they want to make? Yes. Are they able to? Yes.
and also understand that you're getting upset with only half of the information. That helps me a lot, where I'm like, I don't know why they played Angel's Grace right before an ad nause. Like, if I had Angel's Grace, I would let them resolve their ad nause, and if they play another extra turn spell, that's when I would play the Angel's Grace. But then sometimes it's like, they played the Angel's Grace to make sure that the person didn't go too deep into ad nause, and they were just hoping that the person would see the Angel's Grace and be like, oh, I can't win this turn, so I'm going to get 5 cards and stop. Like, I'm going to try to win on a next turn rotation. And there's some gambles that, like, I'll cast a card and I'll be like, me casting this card right now, there's a 50% chance that I lose or I win, but if I don't cast it, there's a 0% chance to win. So I got to take that. If I hand a win to somebody else, that's unfortunate, but I've got to play in my best interest, and there's a 50% chance that this is going to be really flashy and work out for me, and then there's a 50% chance that I just hand a win to somebody else that, maybe didn't earn it, and that sucks, but, I got to do what I got to do.
Yeah, it was my play that I had here. I get that.
Yeah, we had a game where I removed my own collector oof because I knew that I could win at instant speed, and I knew if the collector oof was gone, you and Dog Thras would have to fight, and I was just kind of hoping that when you guys fought, the counter spells would get burnt up, and then I could win on top.
What's frustrating about that,
and it worked out for me, but everybody was just like, you're just giving Kennen the game, why are you doing that? And I'm like, I gotta do what I gotta do.
What's frustrating about it is to try to explain it's not, I wouldn't call it 3000 IQ, but like, I had already seen the curve,
Yeah.
And I was like, this is what's gonna happen.
And this was on top of a silence effect too. So I was just like, if I don't react here, this person's for sure gonna win. If I remove my collector oof, Kinnan might win, but also like I feel like I probably will win. But I know I'm losing if I take no actions. You know?
It, which you ended up winning.
Yeah,
I think
it worked out for me. But when I first did it, everybody was like, "Why are you just giving Kinnan the game?"
But it's hard for me to explain too. Is that without giving the information? Is that I only have one counter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and you have the silence, or you have the first play, and then you have the second play, and then your win line. So if there's not 3 here, we lose.
Yeah.
And no, I didn't know your hand.
Yeah.
But I had the assumption of where it was going to go.
Yeah. Once my entomb resolved, I was like, I can just win. Like, I actually kind of want the silence to resolve because that's two other people that can't stop me.
But yeah, no. Conflict is a part of it. It's kind of where politics go sometimes.
Yeah.
They're not always neutral and happy handshakes, I guess.
Yeah. I have way more positive stories. I would say for every positive story, for every negative story I have, I probably have
at least
5 to 10. Like, you know, I probably have 3 negative interactions, and they weren't really like super negative. It was, this guy was kind of being rude, and everybody else at the table was really quiet, and everybody knew he was kind of being a problem, and I was the one to speak up. But I knew the other 2 people had my back. You know, so.
I think that it's a small fraction of it. However, as people, we only usually remember the bad parts. You want to be sure to understand that whereas it's a thing, it's not the full part of the game.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that conflict is a small part of it, but you don't want it to ruin your entire day.
Yeah. And I think that's good for like just the in general survival guide. We've had a lot of people ask us like, hey, you know, I want a 2-hour podcast on how to stop blue farm. I want a podcast on like how to stop every person in the format. And it's weird because like I could tell you guys how to stop this deck in depth, and a next set is printed and like it's different. Like flash speed wins was not really a thing before Foundations, really. Definitely before Bloomborough, and Bloomborough printed 1 card and it just became much different. So we kind of wanted to go over just like the top 10 decks that you'll see, and just in general how to stop them. I'm going to name all 10 decks just so that you guys kind of have an idea. And then we'll do like a real quick speed run of, you know, things that I would expect you to kind of keep in your head, but not like, you know, study on. So the top decks right now, we looked at the past 3 months and had at least 20 entries. So things that you were going to see. Most popular deck, Blue Farm, of course. Kinnan, second. Rogthras, third. Rogsai, fourth. Sisay, fifth. Atali, sixth. Timnathras, seventh. Ral, 8. Dargo Timna, 9. Rogashai, 10. Starting out with Blue Farm, the way you stop Blue Farm is they'll ask to draw. They'll be like, hey, you know, I need to counter this spell. Like, can I draw? The answer there is, well, let me see your hand. If you don't have any counter spells, let me see your hand. And if the answer is no, then it's like,
no,
then I'm not going to let you draw. You know, like there are times where they genuinely do need to play the hero, but no one's going to try to play the hero and then not just turn around and be the problem after, you know, like, unless there's like a handshake agreement of like, if you let me draw 10 cards, I'll counter their spell, I'll get them out of the game, and then we'll all tie. Like that's the deal. Blue Farm will try to draw cards. If you see Lion's Eye Diamond drop out early, they're probably going to try to do Underworld Breach combo, which is Underworld Breach, Lion's Eye Diamond, Brain Freeze. If they seem like they're just kind of packing up a bunch of spells, they're probably going to try to drop a Thassa combo. and just get out of there with Thassa, Demont Consultation, and a counter spell or two to back it up.
I would say there's not really too many variants of Blue Farm that are significant or like completely different from each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Most of them go for the draws, and then Underworld Breach and Thassa are like top wins.
Yeah.
Not really any other type of wins I can think of with Blue Farm at the moment.
Yeah.
And that's as of this podcast.
There are some people that run like Fairy Mastermind, draw everybody out, but like that is definitely not a preferred way to win, because if you draw everybody out, like you're drawing everybody into their entire deck full of interaction, like not good. And Fairy Mastermind is not your opponent's draw card, it's everybody draws. So like you will eventually kill yourself too. Like,
and it's not as efficient as other decks to where you can keep putting them on the stack with infinite mana.
Yeah. You don't really run Training Grounds in Blue Farm, or Blue Farm is purely just, I'm going to try to get a bunch of value in hand, and then I'm going to drop really efficient combos that are hard to stop and get through that way. Like Underworld Breach is their preferred win line, because Brain Freeze, once it goes on the stack, it storms out, and it's like, okay, well, I put 10 copies of Brain Freeze on the stack. You either need a Mindbreak Trap or a Flusterstorm. If you just have a counter spell, that's not good enough,
And I would say they have a win line with Intuition and Gifts Ungiven. Is it Gifts Ungiven? The draw 4?
Yeah.
So those are tutors that give you the combo you need, and the pieces that you don't, or you set up a certain number of cards where it's no matter what you give the person that's tutoring, they still have the win line.
Yeah.
Just to have a note of Gifts Ungiven and Intuition as possible.
Yeah. I'm going to try to do a one-word sentence on each of these, how to stop them, but Blue Farm, I would say pay attention to hand size and graveyard size.
I agree.
And that's, and then tack on counteristic study on every blue deck here. Except for Sisay, but Kinnan, I'll kind of let you take over, but I'm always amazed Kinnan gets through, because Kinnan plus Basalt is what wins, and like people are just completely cool with Kinnan getting Basalt a lot of the times, and I'm just like, that's the one card in the deck we have to stop, and you guys are just cool with it going into hand. Like
so there's two versions of this deck. One is more dominant than the other, which would be the no bad cards list, which is all about copying Ristic Study and putting a value draw engine on the field, and then just kind of cloning it, which gets you to your win line at some point. And the other one is more for big flips, which you use Kennan's ability to put out creatures off the deck, which is some of them are stacksy, some of them are value. All of them are not good to have on the field. But I would say to watch out for Basalt or ways to get it. So War of Invention, and I would say War of Invention is the more sneaky one. The Trophy Mage puts it to hand, and it has to be cast. If you don't counter the War of Invention, you have more of a problem because it just goes to field. There are interaction points on the untap of Basalt Monolith, just to note. And usually wins through infinite mana and what is the oh no dinosaurs?
Oh yeah, Finale of Devastation.
Finale of Devastation.
Yeah, for me, Kinnan, if you played video games back in the early 2000s and you would put on like infinite ammo cheat code. That's what playing against Kinnan kind of feels like. Is Kinnan is playing with cheat codes on whenever Kinnan hits the field. What a lot of people don't understand is if Kinnan's first turn is land birds, their next turn can be land Kinnan, birds taps for 2, drop a lotus petal taps for 2. They made 6 mana on turn 2, and they have their commander. They have 3 mana for Ristic and 1 mana for a counter spell. Like, and that's not counting free counter spells. So Kinnan should always kind of be dealt with in early game. Like, what I see with Kinnan is a lot of people will be like, yeah, I have the ability to remove their bird, but like it feels bad for me to take advantage of Kinnan like that, like so early. Like, why would I just kill their mana dork right away? Or, oh yeah, Kinnan just dropped. Yeah, they got 4 mana, but all they did was play a Ristic Study. Like, should I really blow up Kinnan right now? Like they're clearly trying to farm for value, and it's like, yes, like if Kinnan is unchecked in the early game, Kinnan will probably win. Like, unless Kinnan went down to like 4 or 5 cards, like, but if Kinnan keeps a full hand, you need to deal with Kinnan in the early game. Like, you either need to blow up a rock or a mana dork or 2. It's just wild to me how people let Kinnan get away with so much early game, where it's like, this is what they do. They just get a bunch of mana, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they have 6 mana and they can drop like a Consecrated Sphinx, or, like they can look like they have 3 mana, but then they have 6 mana, and then on your end step, they're going to Whir of Invention, Basalt to field, and like, yeah, it was 2 mana dorks and a Lotus Petal, but like that's double, Yeah, I think too many people try to deal with Kinnan too late, and it's like they're already way ahead of us. Like, you put no hurdles in front of them, and now you're trying to catch up where they're 75%, through the race, and you're only 50%, and you're trying to catch up to them, and you're just not. Yeah.
I would say the NBC list of Kinnan will run more counters than the in general than the Big Flips version. The Big Flips version is not really dominating the format at the moment. It's all usually the Big Flips. I'm sorry, the NBC list.
Yeah. I mean, I think, summary for me, bully Kinnan early. If you feel like you're bullying Kinnan, don't feel bad. Like, that's kind of where
I would say
you gotta go. Yeah. Rogthras, pretty much the same. Rogthras wins through a lot of early game, value. Rogthras just kind of explodes real quick. They don't really get double mana, but with Rog out and the mana rocks they run, they're basically going to do the same thing, where they get a really big turn before everybody else can. They build up a lot of creatures. If you can take care of the creatures, you take care of Gaia's Cradle. If you have a Boseiju, hit the Gaia's Cradle.
Yeah, for sure.
Hating on Gaia's Cradle is kind of the best way to stop Rogthras. If they try to crop rotation really early, and it would feel bad to take a land out of the game then crop rotation. Like, don't feel bad. That crop rotation will win them the game eventually. If not now, eventually.
I would say a good thing to note here too is that Rogthras doesn't use a lot of non-creature spells to win. Once it's set up, most of its combos are creature based or land based.
Yeah.
And so your Fierce Guardian and the pool of counter spells is highly strong. Like, there's not as many ways to stop Rogthras once it starts. So your Mind Break Traps, your Fierce Guardian, your Boseiju, even your Odawara is probably more valuable than your Fierce Guardian.
Yeah. And Rogthras, I love seeing it because they'll make so many creatures, and I'm just like, yeah, I
A
mulliganed
field wipe.
for Culling Ritual.
Yeah.
Like I've got 14 mana now. Thanks. Like Rogthras explodes really early, but if you have a field wipe, they're just done. Like they explode and they try to get there, and if anything resets them, they're kind of just done. I think would really be my like make sure if you're not playing a field wipe in your deck, you understand that a field wipe is needed. Yeah.
I would argue that the other version of like Dog Thrass
Yeah.
is fairly similar.
Yeah.
Rog Thrass has kind of been more dominant since Squelcher, but
I mean, the other way to stop it is to stop Thrasios. So, make sure that Thrasios can't get out with a oh god, I forgot the white creature, Dranith.
oh
Like
yeah,
Pithing Needle, if you can run Curse Totem, like lol. These Mana Dork heavy decks, like Curse Totem, if you can run it, is really good against them. Going to Rogsai, you either win or lose in the mulligan is how I view Rogsai. Like when I see Rogsai, I know that Rogsai is just going to be a problem. I'll have Rogsai players be like, well, you mental misstepping my fish really took me out of the game. And the answer to that is good.
yeah.
Rogsai, while it does run blue, it's not doing anything other than protecting its own win. Like they're not really going to use counters offensively or defensively. Like, no, offensively.
Yeah, they're not going to hit somebody else's.
I never look at a Rogsai at a table and go like, oh, cool, they'll have counter spells. Because like that's not true.
No, not at all.
A mental misstep can go a long way. A silence can go a long way.
Silence is golden
Yeah,
in some of these plays.
Whenever I see a Rogsai at the table, I will usually look at the table and go like, hey, Rogsai's at the table. One of us needs to go get a mental misstep, a vexing bauble, a silence. Like one of us needs to make sure that we have a hurdle for Rogsai to get over. And if we don't, Rogsai probably just wins. So like while you're mulliganing, if all of us go, well, I'm just going to try to outspeed Rogsai, that won't work. Like one of us has to decide that they're going to drop a vexing bauble or, something.
I don't know statistically. I guess I could find it, but seemingly to me, Rogsai does really well in Swiss. And then out of the Swiss, it kind of has somewhat of an issue. But that's just me. Like I have no data to throw at that. It's just more of my experience in tournaments.
Yeah, I will say locally, like I've seen Rogsai do really good in Swiss, and then they get to top 16 or top 4, and they usually don't come out on top, which I don't know if that's just my assumption. I might be wrong, but I mean, it's still a problem. Like
I agree.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, my sentence for Rogsai would just be like, Rogsai is won and lost in mulligans, and that's it. Like all Rogsai players do is try to mulligan really well and just hope that people didn't mulligan anything in their opening hand to stop them.
Yeah, have a counter early, and you have a pretty good chance of getting to the mid game.
Yeah, Rogsai is going to try to push on turn 2 or 3 every time, like consistently. Yeah. Sisei is weird. Sisei is just a lay and wait deck where Sisei also runs counters, but they're mostly trying to get the game to go quite a while so that Sisei can win, because if the longer the game goes, the easier it is for Sisei to get their win con out. There's, lots of things Sisei can do. It can be a very interactive deck, surprisingly. If a Sisei player ever says, hey, I've got an answer for this, I just need to tutor with Sisay to go grab it. No, you know, like,
The tutoring with Sisay wins games.
yeah,
Unless they're like, I will get this specific thing,
yeah.
and this is what I'm gonna do.
I will
It's
not win this turn. You know,
yeah,
yeah,
and even then, can you win on my upkeep?
yeah.
Isn't it?
Well, I mean, if their answer is I'll tutor with Sisay, I'll go get Urtai, I'll stop this, and I won't make any more actions this turn. Cool, you know, like I'm willing to sacrifice. And the other thing is it's kind of on you to look at the mana and go like, oh, they actually could tutor twice. You know, like Sisay, it's all about making sure that you're counting the mana and counting how big Sisay is. Because Sisay will kind of just try to sneak in and win on somebody else's turn. It can literally sneak in at any time. It's an instant speed type of deal.
I would say once it's able to get Derevi,
Yeah.
it's kind of an issue.
I mean, I've seen people drop op agent and then Sisay just go, okay, on top of op agent, you know, like on top of
here.
op agent.
Yeah.
It's very reactive. It can win whenever. It's very slippery. I think as a new player, you should be kind of worried about Sisay just in general. It's kind of hard to understand how it wins as a first time tournament person. Just if you look at Sisay and there's 4 creatures on the field, including Sisay, you're probably losing. Sisay is get Sisay out, count to 5. There are some times where they do have to like value tutor when Sisay doesn't have very many power and toughness, but basically the moment that Sisay can tutor, Sisay will win. How do you stop that? Op agent on top of the tutor, because even a removal, you could point it at Sisay and then they go, okay, with the removal on the stack, search. Yeah.
While removing things that tap for multiple colors.
Yeah.
So if you're Bloom Tender is always a thing, Sylvala is a thing. I can't think of the little tree guy, but that's also one.
Kinnan and Lotho being out are 2 color pips, which is really good.
Yeah.
Sisay can be a lot to deal with. Just understand that Sisay is a eventuality. Like Sisay will always win if the game keeps going, because it's really hard to interact with. Sisay is a preventative deck. Once Sisay has all the tools that they need, you're done. You know, like that's kind of it. A lot of Sisay pilots have been playing Sisay for a really long time. It's kind of a hard deck to play. They're probably one of the better pilots at the table in most cases.
I would agree with that.
I would say like be pretty cautious of Sisay. And then completely on the other side, Atali. Atali was a big menace a couple months ago, and it's dropped down quite a bit. Atali is literally a count to 7 deck, and you know they just in general kind of hope that the flips are really good. Food chain is a big problem with Atali. Really, the way that you stop Atali is number 1, just don't let Atali come out.
I would.
Number 2, stop the triggers, either Vexing Bauble, Dranith,
yeah.
Silence on top of the Atali trigger. The other thing is, if you have to let Atali get an ETB, which sometimes you do have to, wait until they target Atali with a copy spell, and that's when you remove it. Don't remove it before then.
I was going to say with this one, don't worry so much about the mana. So if they're getting up to 7 mana, it's better to let them use their one-shot mana than it is to like mental misstep. Granted, if that's all you have is a mental misstep, use it. But if you have a mental misstep and a force of will, for instance, I would rather force of will Atali on the stack than mental misstep the mana vault, because once you hit Atali is good for ritualing the mana to drop it early, And then once that is done, usually their hand is gone, and they're just kind of watching the game,
Yeah.
and they're not going to provide much help
Oh yeah, they're
in the long
red
run
green. Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
So, not that I want you to shut out a player, but this is one of those instances.
I have sat down at a double Atali pod and just gone, what I can do is mulligan for Vexing Bobble. That's what I'm doing. You know, like Atali is kind of a weird deck because like it exists at all skill levels. There are some people that will just sit down and be like, yeah, you know, big dinosaur, thought it was really cool, decide to come out. And then there's some people that are like, yeah, big dinosaur, thought it was really cool. I won the boil with it. Or you know, like not necessarily the boil, but like
I want to, yeah.
I've won several $1,000s off my Atali deck. You know, and like both of those people are just like, I think big dinosaurs are cool. Like, you know?
I like the big dino.
Yeah.
No, there is a high skill level because ultimately you're piecing wins with other players' cards.
Yeah.
And granted, your cards are meant to win as well, but they're more meant to have you continue the drop of the big dinosaur.
Yeah.
So, just a quick note on it. I mean, if you're able to remove it during the phase of its first cast, then the chances of them casting it the next turn are like a lot lower.
My secret tech with Atali is just kill somebody. Like
Just beat them down.
there are definitely some times where I can take a player out of the game and I'm like, I can take you out at any point. You know, I could just swing my commander right here and remove you from the table. Why would I remove counter spells from the table when I'm not going to win? It doesn't really incentivize me. Just because I can take out a player doesn't mean I will. But if there's an Atali, I'm just like, hey, nothing against you. I can kill you, and that's one less Atali flip, so I'm going to do it. Or I will, everything being equal at the table, if I see Atali and I can get some early game damage in, I will, because I'm just like that. Every, 3 to 4 damage I do to you is one less treasonous ogre mana. So like, it will make the difference. Yeah.
I guess when you're first starting, it's not really you think about like the black life spending spells like Adnaz and I was going to say Underworld Breach, but that's not it. Necropotence. But with Atali, Treasonous Ogre is a big thing. Like if Treasonous Ogre comes out, they'll use all of their life just about to cast it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I've had so many games to where I've had an Atali spend 20 life to cast Atali, and I'm like, cool, force of will.
Yeah.
Because now you're not going to use your Treasonous Ogre again.
You can't. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
like I'm leaving you with enough life to continue the game, but you can't get it through Treasonous Ogre again. Like, good luck.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah. I think Atali can be a little hard to play against as a new person, but I mean it's another one where it's like Atali will never help. Don't feel too bad for targeting an Atali either. I think the word is parasitic deck, where it's like they exist at the table and they're not really going to help. They're just going to kind of draw counters. Like very rarely will they run even like Force of Vigor. They're not really going to deal with much. Timna Thras, the opposite.
It's going to play a long game.
Yeah, Timna Thras really wants to play a long game. It's a really control-y deck. They're all about value. Card draw, tutors, Smothering Tithe, Ristic Study. All of those big value cards kind of need to be dealt with. Really any Timna deck, the way you deal with them is if you can kill Timna, try to kill Timna. They have 2 really good ways to draw cards in the command zone. And really what they're trying to do is go infinite mana in order to just draw their deck through Thras. So when you see mana dorks that can tap for a lot,
Probably get rid of them.
usually get rid of them. Timna Thras, like, I used to play it whenever the bans first happened. It was the closest thing I got to a competitive deck, and it was just kind of boring to me. It felt really meandering. Like, I had a lot of counters. I was on sheriff duty. I was always trying to get value. I was always trying to dump mana into Thras. Like, it didn't feel like I was doing anything until I would just be like, oh, I stumbled into Thassawind. Cool. Or like, oh, hey, I stumbled into Fairy Mastermind, um, Ability Reducer, and Smothering Tide. I can just draw everybody out. Like, cool. It's one of those decks that it'll just sit there and control the table. Like, the way to win is to check it really early and just don't let it get to that late game. Or take out its big value pieces where, Smothering Tithe might not seem like a win con, but like it is a win con in that deck. Ristic Study, I mean, we're in a Ristic Study meta. Try to counter it when you can.
It's definitely a longer game. Like their win lines, other than like a Thassa combo out, is usually turn 4, and it usually has enough value to push to turn 4.
Oh yeah.
So it does struggle a lot with the faster decks, which a lot of decks are a lot faster.
I was about to say it basically plays like Blue Farm, but slower, which is why it's number 7.
It's the safest like deck I would say out of this list, because it's always going to keep doing its thing, and it's not going to overextend itself so bad that, other than like an Adnaz or Necro, to where it can't do something else or can't pivot. So
it wins with infinite mana or just value. Like,
exactly. And Kennen is a big part of it sometimes. I've seen him with Basalt in it too.
yeah.
So it's very generic in my opinion. I don't think that it doesn't have any special win cons like where Basalt is Kennen's win con.
Yeah.
It's
value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Ral, a completely different deck. Ral pretty much is going to try to win on turn 2 or 3. There's a lot of coin flips. There's a lot of actions. How do you stop Ral? A Mystic Remora or a Ristic Study. There are times where like I'll look and somebody drops a fish or a Ristic Study, and I'm just like, I'm not going to deal with it. There's an Atali at the table. There's a Ral at the table. They can deal with it. It's like, well, they probably will win eventually if the Ristic Study resolves. And I'm like, yeah, you'll win now if it doesn't resolve.
Or an early game subtlety.
Yeah. Just if you can take Ral out and make Ral more expensive and delay them a little bit, that's great. For me, and this is kind of like, maybe not like, the nicest move, but Ral is never a for sure thing. I'm not gonna say never. 90% of the times whenever Ral is like, do you guys concede? Like, there is a chance that they won't win. There's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of things that need to happen. Like, the fact that Ral flips into a planeswalker and there's a lot of free spells doesn't mean they're going to win. The fact that they get a lot of big spells for free doesn't mean that they're going to win. There's 80 minutes. You need to make Ral play everything out. If I'm at a tournament and Ral goes for a win, they have to play it out. Unless they can just show me like, hey, I have Reiterate. I have this. My proposed loop is I'll do this over and over and over again and get to Infinite Storm. And then, a good Ral player will propose that. And then you're like, okay, cool. Like, with Infinite Storm, how do you win? And then they'll go, I'll grape shot the table. And then you're like, okay, cool. I don't need you to play the same action 200 times. Like, we're good, but Ral needs to show me a definitive win. I won't concede just because Ral has a lot of value. Um, Hopefully you don't get there, but really just dealing with early game value with Ral is how you stop Ral. Ral is one of those decks that I kind of look at a lot like Rogsai, where it's like Ral will say like, well, don't take me out of the game. I have counter spells. It's like, yeah, but you're not using them on anybody but yourself. Like
No, it's a very greedy deck. They're not gonna pitch in. I wouldn't expect them to force something.
yeah, like the argument of, well, you're taking me out of the game. That's one less person to counter spell. It's like, if I don't take you out of the game, you're going to draw counter spells. You're going to be negative counter spells. So like, unfortunately, like I do kind of have to take you out and bully you a little early, and it feels bad, but that's what needs to happen. Dargo Timna. This is a deck that surprisingly has a lot of card draw and interaction, even though they're not in blue. A lot of silences, lots of tutors, lots of card draw. I'm always surprised when I sit down with a Dargo Timna player, like how much value that they can create not being in blue. Dargo Timna is one of those decks that will sit there and assemble, and they probably won't seem like they're doing much. And then they'll play like a Pyre of Heroes, and you're like, what does that card do? And then they're like, it wins me the game. Yeah, they're not going to tell you that, but Dargo Timna is always a silence away from winning. So
This is a good deck.
yeah,
Like I can't stress it enough, and to take it lightly, you'll lose to this deck.
it'll surprise you with how much it can push and how much stuff it can push through. Like you can be like, yeah, there's a Drannith out and there's a Cursed Totem out, or whatever. Like you could be like, there are two stacks pieces on the field. I don't really have to worry about them too much. And then all of a sudden they just have two pieces of removal in white. That's like two O-rings or something. And you're just
Silly,
like,
yeah.
okay, well, they removed two stacks pieces and then they just had enough value because they just sat there and then they won. Dargo Timna will be kind of quiet usually. Like they're really just trying to farm and get to that silence and then drop a good combo. The way you stop Dargo Timna is, force them to participate in the game and politics. Keep in mind that if they're drawing cards, they're not in blue, so they're not going to help. Like they might be able to throw like a silence or two at people that are going to win, or like red elemental blast. Like they're more interactive than like a Rogsai or a Ral probably would be. But Dargo Timna, you should always expect that if they have a grip on their next turn, they probably are going to win.
And I would say they're also not blue.
Yeah.
So having something like a silence is awesome. Like it will stop a lot of it.
Yeah.
I would be leery of something that doesn't stop all spells though. So if you're trying to Ranger Captain, that might not stop them.
Yeah, their instant speed lines aren't very good either. Like they're going to try to win on their own turn usually. So if you can shut down their turn, they kind of have to wait a whole rotation to try to win again.
But it's just solid. Like I don't know, I still don't fully understand it. It's one of the decks that I want to learn. I have it proxied out. I just feel kind of bad when I'm trying to learn it.
Yeah, just understand that treasures are a problem, and Dargo will cost one always. Like,
Yeah.
Dargo loops are a thing. If they can get Dargo to one, they kind of just go infinite mana and win from there. Make sure you just read the cards that they play. They'll play a lot of weird stuff like, Deadpool, you might not have seen, Pyre of Heroes, you might not have seen, Technomancer, you might not have seen. Like, it's okay to stop the game and read and just go, oh, this will give them a lot of treasures, and then they'll just do Dargo loops with Goblin Bombardment, and then people will be like, oh, okay.
Oh
Like,
yeah, we're about to lose.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just keep in mind how many sackable things they have. Read Dargo. Understand Dargo can sack things as an additional cost to cast. Understand that, lots of card draw is a problem. Understand that a lot of the cards that they play are unique to Dargo Timna. Stacks go a long way, but it's not the end all be all. Like, they can remove them. Just because they're not in blue doesn't mean that they can't just, Oblivion Ring or, temporarily remove something on their turn to try to win. The deck has a lot more interaction than you would expect from white, red, black. So just keep that in mind.
Also slippery at the speed of the deck too.
Yeah.
It could be a turn 5, it could be a turn 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I say 2. 2 might be a little stretch, but 3.
Two would be God Hand. They're usually pushing 3 or 4, and then the deck can also push and recover pretty quickly. Like, what keeping them locked out of their commanders helps a lot. Raw Gishai, I'm gonna be honest, I've never seen this deck win in a tournament.
It's new.
Yeah, it's new. I think a lot of people picked it up. It's Jeskai. Jeskai is very slow. The way that the deck tries to win is to put a bunch of Rhystic Studies out, get a lot of value. The deck pretty much is just all early game mana and counter spells. They run a bunch of free spells that stop people's win cons. This is the late game deck. They either want to win with Underworld Breach combo or get to the point where they're so late in the game that Ishai gets so big that they can just take everybody out. Just when Ishai comes down, it costs 4. That's kind of a desperation where it's like, okay, they literally have nothing other than counter spells in Ishai. The trick of, I'm moving to combat. Cool, I'm in combat. Oh, you bounced Ishai. All of the 1/1 counters are gone. Oh, is kind of big.
It is a value. It is valuable to do so sometimes.
Before they attack too, as a deck that runs removal, I'll be like, hey, Ishai, 12 damage. You can swing it at me. I've got removal for it. I would suggest you not swing it at me. Maybe swing it at somebody that doesn't have removal. Because if it's coming at me, I can guarantee I'm just going to remove it. If it's going at somebody else, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll let you get that 12 damage in. No promises after you get that 12 damage in, but like, don't force my hand to remove it right now. And then sometimes like the answer there is like, yeah, you can try to remove it. I've got 4 counter spells. And it's like, okay, cool. Do you want to have a counter spell fight over Ishai, or do you want to just get in a free swing?
It's a hard question too, because if they have 3 Rhystics or 2 Rhystics, like maybe the 2 cards and the counter is good, like
I've played against some pretty good pilots on it, and I've just never seen it perform.
it's a strange one. It's definitely an up and coming contender. Will it get there? I don't know. I mean, Plagon was something that was trying at one point. This is better colors than Plagon.
Yeah.
But
I just wanted to check the conversion rate. I think it's pretty high.
It's the middle there, it looks.
Yeah, conversion rate is 25%, which is good. Pretty good. The best conversion rate, Thrasios Vile Smasher 37%, Kenrith 36%, 24 top cuts. I think one of our friends is maybe half of those top cuts.
That's very true.
Yeah, Magda conversion rate 21%, top cuts 31. We know someone that's probably 10 of those. Like,
what was Kennan's? I'm just curious because it was down lower. The 20.
20, but that's another thing is there's 124 top cuts. Everyone else is about 20. So there's a lot of people that just go, oh, Kennan wins, so I'm I'm gonna play that, and then they're just like, oh, I didn't win. That sucks. Yeah,
Yeah, that makes
that's
sense.
usually why we go popularity rather than conversion rate.
That's true.
But yeah, I mean that's kind of it. Hopefully those top 10 commanders was not too overwhelming. If it was, just kind of
It was just some good information.
look at the top 10 and go like, what did I learn? Cool. And if there's one thing from every single commander, like don't that sets you on top still. You know, you didn't have to take it all in.
And this is also, I don't know if it'll be evergreen per the commanders. I mean, Rog Ishai is a good example of an up and coming commander. It's getting a lot of play.
Yeah.
But will it last? I don't know. So just take it with a grain of salt. If you listen to this 2 years from now and you're like, none of this makes sense now.
Yeah.
This is as of 2026.
Yeah. I mean, like, this is in general content. So, you know, if we were going like a little bit deeper into it, it might be a little bit more, you know, different. But I feel just because it's like general, like this is how Canon wins. This is how they try. Maybe there's going to be a crazy ban where they ban all partners, and this will be junk, you know, or like they ban Ristic Study, which, you know, I keep seeing people say it. I don't think it's going to happen. But,
I don't either.
Yeah, that's my hot take.
And if you listen to this and you're like, you know, the best part of this whole thing was the commanders part, put it in the comments. We've been thinking about it. It's just more of a going over decks as of the date that they're there doesn't necessarily hold up against time.
Yeah, we're trying to build a catalog of every episode will mostly be good, like forever. Like we have an episode, maybe it's 2 years old, about how to go to MagicCon or how to go to your next TCG convention. And you know, even though that's probably 2 years old, it's relevant. You know, the year in reviews, interesting always. You know, like the set reviews also can be always interesting. The goal is to just every episode be a, oh, maybe I'll go back and watch this, not a, oh, this is this week's episode. Cool, I consumed it, into the trash. You know? And like, you know, if that's how you consume things, that's completely fine. But
and there's a lot of content creators that do that. I would also say that, like I said, if it's something y'all like and you think that this was the end all be all or whatever, I mean, we're open to it. It's just a matter of, you know, is it going to be useful in 6 months?
Yeah, and I like, it's always kind of cool to like meet somebody that's like, or like, you know, hear from somebody in the comments that are like, hey, you know, I found you guys today. My favorite episode is episode 31, how to take a break from CDH. Like, I listened to it. It was a really good episode. I went all the way back. Like, I'm going to keep listening through your backlog. It's all been good. And it's like, oh, okay, thanks. You know, like that episode I did a year ago whenever I got a little bit frustrated with CDH. And if that was useful and it's a year old and it's still good, that's great. You know, that's the goal. But yeah, I mean, less ranting. You know, like thank you guys for checking us out. Thank you guys for staying all the way through. If you made it all the way to the end of the podcast, you are
a trooper,
real playa, as they say. And you know, if you could, please just make sure you're subscribed, leave a like on the YouTube video, make sure that we're added to your notifications as far as podcasts. You know, auto download, it helps a lot. Check out the link tree. If you listen to this whole episode, you probably would enjoy our Discord. And we're almost over 50 members, so we're gonna have to make a new first 100 you know, role, which people can show off. And you know, it's a big community. It's a good community. Thank you guys so much. Please check out our link tree and do all the algorithm things.
Thank you guys.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.